remind me your name?
Sophia.
Sophia. As somebody who constantly wants to challenge myself and the views I grew up on, I did have a short stint with polyamory, 2 guys and 1 girl.
Your question?
Was that just a one-time thing, or you've had multiple polyamorous relationships?
It was a one-time thing. It was with 2 hetero guys and 1 girl.
You were the 1 girl?
No, there was 1 other girl.
Oh, so this 2 guys, 2 girls?
Yeah, I mean, outside of me. Yeah.
Okay, so it was like a 4-way relationship.
Yep.
And so would you guys have group sex?
No, individually.
But so would the women and the men sleep together?
Like her and I?
Sure.
No, the 2 guys too.
No, the 2 guys. No.
2 guys wouldn't, but the 2 girls would?
Mm-hmm.
And then you would be with the 2 guys?
Yes.
And then the other girl would be with the 2 guys also?
Yes.
Okay, all right.
So it was basically just these 2 guys swapping you guys around, essentially.
It was, you can make it as crass as you'd like, but it was...
Well, I'm not trying to be crass. I'm just speaking plain.
Okay, yeah. It was a relationship like that, if you'd like to put it like that, but it was very communicative, very open, learned a lot from it, learned I'm very monogamous, and
Okay.
I wouldn't do it again.
Wouldn't do it again? Okay.
We're all still friends. We care about each other a lot.
What made you want to get involved in that?
Well, I haven't seen relationships work very well. And the foundation...
You mean monogamous relationships? Okay.
Yes. And so
Gotcha.
I just wanted to see, okay, well, if monogamy is not working for the vast majority of people, maybe this is something that could work. Again, I didn't find it personally for myself that it could, but, and I didn't really see many positives other than the community and the good people that I met. The dynamic itself, I don't believe can work very well. It takes a lot of time, effort, and there can't be a mutual gain on everyone's end. Like it's just going to always be unequally divided.
Okay. You said that you'd like to see the divisive script of the show flipped. I would love to speak on the differences in beauty of men and women. What do you mean by see the divisive script of the show flipped? What do you mean, and how?
I think you know exactly. I'm just kidding. But you have very inflammatory topics. You take the same stances. When a woman may answer something, there seems like almost a very pursuant attack of her opinions and her goals, or whatever she's viewing. And so I believe the problem where we're at today, as many of us have stated, I think we are on the same page that this society and where we're heading now is not conducive for men or women.
Mm-hmm.
I believe we can have a lot more respect for one another, our individualities. We are all we're all different people. We all have different life experiences. And you don't need to respect everyone equally. You don't have to agree with them. But I just believe that it's very divisive. We're all thinking about ourselves these days, thinking materialist. I can't say all, I'm just saying like what is propagated on the internet is that we're all very self-serving. You'll see the men
women
go after women.
Okay.
The women go after men. Mm-hmm. And I believe there's a lot of beauty in the differences between men and women, and that we need to start coming together and seeing that instead.
Well,
that's my...
If I can, I'll just... But so you're saying, the show, it's divisive. Well, I mean, I will give you that the show is certainly adversarial in nature.
Mm.
But you, as a person who wanted to challenge yourself because of your upbringing, of course you would want to have your stances on the different viewpoints you have challenged, right? That doesn't mean, I agree with you, it doesn't mean you should personally attack people, personally go after people, but you should be able to go after stances and the things that people think. That seems reasonable, right?
I'm not saying it's unreasonable. I'm saying how you go about it is...
Who's you? You're talking about the
how
show,
the
you're talking about
internet
me.
can go about it, how you can go about it.
But okay, so how? How do I go about it? Look, I will give you that the show has an adversarial nature, but it's sort of a debate format.
Yeah.
And I try to, for the most part, be respectful. I'm not perfect all the time, but for the most part, I try to conduct myself in a 93% of the time respectful way.
Why don't we ever talk, like, you don't ever talk about men's body counts, or even ask us if it matters to us what a man's body count is? And I find that a little one-sided, so.
Well, we could.
Actually, we did.
When?
We, like right here in this conversation, it was asked, do you care about body count? They said, we don't care. It's nobody's business. I would work on both, right? I'd work on men and
No,
women.
the question was, is it all right for a man to ask you, what's your body count? That
Yeah.
was the question.
Well, yeah. So the question was,
So if the answer to that is no, because it's nobody's business, I'm just going to assume that you would put that on the other side too, because if you didn't, that would be pretty inconsistent, right? Isn't it a self-answering question?
I mean, but the question wasn't asked. I don't think it is a self-answering question. I think it's worth asking, 100%.
sure. Well, I mean, and my personal stance on it is, I don't think it's good for men to be promiscuous and sleep with a ton of women. I do think there are differences, though, and I do think promiscuity does have a greater negative impact on women. I think women have more capacity to be promiscuous, whereas most men cannot go and sleep with a new guy every single day of the week. Or sorry, yeah. Did I say that wrong? I don't know.
Yeah.
Like, most men don't have the capacity to be sluts. Every single woman, if she wanted to, could be a slut. That's why I think the body count thing is gendered. There's certainly a difference there. Like, no offense to you, right? You said you've been, and I'm not saying this to attack you, but you've said you've been overweight most of your life. Again, I'm trying to put this in the most delicate way.
I can say it.
Well-
I'm the least attractive at this
No.
point.
That's not what I was going to say. What I was going to say is, I think you said that your body count was over 100,
Yes.
right? I would argue that your male looks equivalent
No
would
way.
be incapable of having a body count over 100. And I'm not saying that to attack
I'm
you or
so
to be
glad
mean.
I'm not single donated $200. Those body counts are insane. Wife and I had one previous each, and agree it was a mistake. Find one, nail them down. Have the best sex / ever. What's y'all's orgasm to body ratio? 2 kids and counting.
Yeah, thank you, man, for the TTS. I mean, definitely, it's interesting that women will engage in casual sex because a lot of times you'll hear from women, they don't even climax. Look, you don't need to necessarily climax for sex to be enjoyable, but a lot of these women aren't even coming in their casual sexual encounters anyways. They're not getting any pleasure, so not to say that you need to climax to get sexual pleasure, but so to go back to your point, though, does occur to me that men care far more about body count than women do. If women do care about body count, I certainly don't object to that. If a woman's standard was, I wouldn't want to date a guy with high body count, I think that's totally valid. I don't have a double standard like, oh, women aren't allowed to have a preference on this. I do think it happens to be the case that women care much less than men do.
Yeah, so it's
generally
giving you a
speaking.
distinction between descriptive and prescriptive. So it's not hypocrisy. He's saying descriptively, it seems to him that the way that men view this and the way that women view this generally is totally different. That men seem to view this as a preferential thing, and women seem to view it as if a man has a higher body count, they care about that less, whereas men care about it more. Prescriptively, he's saying, I think both should probably have low body counts, right? So he's saying that. So he's just given a difference between the description of what he sees as being reality, and then, but the prescription is the same for both across the board.
Yeah, I mean, I think what you said, Brian, is valid. But like, I personally, that would bother me if someone had a high body count.
Yeah.
Okay, then that's totally valid. And if you didn't want to
And understandable.
date with them, or if you didn't want to date them because of that, that's totally valid.
Right, which is why I understand it from your perspective.
Okay, cool. What is divisive about the show? Go ahead.
I mean, your interactions or your reactions to some of the women's comments, how you come about.
Well, give me
your
an example.
questioning. I mean, if you watch this with any sort of open mind, you can
Well, I'm
see-
sitting here when I'm doing the show, so
I know. Do you ever reflect on how you interact with your
you're going to have to
panel?
give me a specific example because I can't answer your sort of generalized statement.
Yeah. Let's say, so one of the candidates you had on your previous shows, she had deferred or declined not to answer the body count question, and you were like, oh no, and you kept pushing her to answer it. And then when she did, you used that information against her later on. It was an attack.
Do you know which episode it was?
No, my God. Like,
Okay.
how am I supposed to remember that?
Okay. I mean, we get into the body count question almost every single episode. So
Indeed.
you're
I'm just-
going to
you
have
asked
to
me for a
because
specific
most of the time
example.
here's how it normally goes. So I'll ask what's your body count question?
Mm-hmm.
And then maybe they answer. If they refuse to answer, I will typically push back once
Mm-hmm.
and say, "Oh, come on. You just said that body count shouldn't matter. Why?
Mm-hmm.
That's the extent of my pushback. So you'd have to show me the clip that you're referencing. It's certainly possible that I pushed back a secondary time.
Mm-hmm.
But so your assertion is what? That I was berating her? Because look, I've done 140 of these episodes. It's possible that I pushed back beyond twice, but I don't think I have.
Okay. And I will look through if you want the specific episode. I'm
There's
not
also
gonna have.
this phenomenon that happens where because the internet's great at clipping, and you can make anything look like anything you want, essentially, with the right clips.
Yep.
If they get sent out, the whole internet's going to tear it apart, right? And it could make something which didn't even look bad look a million times worse just based on the commentary, things like this. It's just the way it goes.
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
of course.
But I've participated in the show quite a few times. Doesn't seem like it's nearly as adversarial. Like, I've been in some brutal drag-out debates that are
Yeah.
really
Yeah.
adversarial. And for the most part, it's pretty chill format. There is some hefty debates, but even then, seem to back it off if it gets too heated. And it seems like what they're looking for here is just kind of the exploratory of the interpersonal sexual dynamics between men and women, which is super interesting to people.
And it is, and that's kind of what caught my eye when I first saw this podcast. I was thinking it was.
That's why you watch it.
Yes, exactly.
But don't you
and
watch it
many
also
other-
because it's adversarial? And it challenges you, and that's kind of the thing you want, right?
Well, it's not challenging in a way that's very informative or something where it leads to an open debate with open minds, because it's what is this? What is your stance on that? And again, I'm not a podcast. You do a great job. I'm not in
I'm
your
not-
shoes
not
because
offended. I'm not offended.
I'm just saying, obviously, I don't run a podcast of my own. I don't know, you've gotten where you are, obviously, because you're good at it.
I'm okay. I'm okay. I mean,
Okay. You're however you'd like to describe yourself.
English is my second language, so I'm constantly stuttering and I lose my train of thought. I've got brain fog. So, I'm all right.
A lot of
Andrew
the-
here is the fucking debate god, okay?
He is.
Um,
He is.
Yeah.
when you're
Andrew
talking though about kind of, I understand what you're saying, right? But you're kind of coming at it too with an own bias of open-mindedness. Most of the world's not very open-minded.
I
And the only
understand
way
that.
to really drive a point home to even expand a person's understanding of something is to engage in adversarial linguistic combat, right? That's the
you
way.
are very good at it. Yes.
Like, that's the way it works. You know what I
Yes.
mean?
I'm supposing, and a lot of these questions are too, their personal preference. So because there's
Yeah.
so many nuances in our experiences, it can't have a very strong debate one way or the other.
That's
because
not
it-
true.
Okay.
Because
Please tell me.
even if you have preferences, right, you should still have consistency with the things that you do. Some kind of logical consistency or some kind of basis from which you derive your morality.
values or
and
morality,
values,
yeah.
things like this. And so the exploration here, you're talking about interpersonal relationships of any kind. They don't even have to be sexual, just interpersonal relationships of any kind. So you're really exploring what makes them fail. That's what people are so interested in, right?
Yeah.
They're not even nearly as interested as what makes
if we
them
want to
succeed.
talk about that.
But like, what makes them fail?
Yeah.
And so when we kind of dive into that, it seems like what makes them fail all the time is an inconsistency in living up to those values.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so, like, I think that that's really something really worth talking about. And I think that that's why people gravitate around dating shows in general. I mean, what the hell do I don't know anything about dating, but I still find it fascinating to discuss the interpersonal dynamics between people, just like everybody else does.
Yeah, and that's something where we could go down many rabbit holes of relationships and why they're not working out right now. If we wanted to start either on lack
Security
of
guard beer delivery.
yeah, that's pretty nice. Where's I'm just kidding.
I bribed him on the
Well,
way in.
before you do that, I will actually address the open-mindedness thing. You know what? You've called me out. I am actually, I'm not open-minded. I'm very firm in my beliefs.
The sauna.
My
especially,
beliefs
not
are,
talking.
yes, the sauna's terrible. Body count matters. I prefer a woman with a low body count. Lip filler is gross. BBLs are gross. Fake titties are gross. I'm against plastic surgery. What else?
Makeup is a lie.
What's that?
Makeup is a lie.
Yes, makeup is a lie. I'm a kind of against makeup, but I'm not like that hardcore with it. Actually, speaking of which, well, did we pull this up? We had I don't know if you guys remember, this is like OG whatever stuff. Nick, can you pull up the TikTok thing? We had a girl who came on the podcast and she talked shit on makeup and it went super viral. It got like 30 million views on TikTok. Nick, can you pull up the TikTok? It's a TikTok page. It should be the only TikTok page. It's one of the earlier ones. It's like early. And it got used as like you guys might have heard it if you're on TikTok. It got used as a noise that you can use,
Yeah,
a sound, thank you, on TikTok. Over 17,000 women have used the sound from the original. Basically, we're not going to play it, but basically, and all these women in their they use the sound and then they do like a makeup application video to the sound of this woman saying that she's not a fan of makeup. Makeup it's bad for your health, blah, blah, blah. 17,000 videos. So, it's interesting. It's interesting, you know. You guys are, I think a lot of women are, I don't know what the right framing on this is. You are in some ways chained to your face paint.
I'm insecure.
You are slaves. You are all slaves to your face paint.
What do you mean?
And
by
you will
that?
defend. Wait, no. Here's how it goes. You are so hopelessly inert. Wait. Oh my God. Wait. Can we? I
You
don't.
have Stockholm syndrome, basically.
You Stockholm syndrome with makeup that you will like fight to defend it to the death.
We're going
I don't know where I'm going with
this. All right.
But yes, I'm not open-minded. I have firm beliefs, and I will not. No one's going to change my mind on the body count thing. No one's going to change my mind on the natural body supremacy thing. It's just.
I don't think we're trying to. What I was
Yeah.
saying is, like, when he said that's something we could discuss, and that's why people go towards these sort of dating channels, is because the human mind and experience is so vast and so different that it is fascinating to explore and go down those rabbit holes. That's what I would like to see instead of saying, oh, this, okay, fuck you. Just kidding, sorry.
But isn't that
F
what they're
you.
doing? I mean, isn't
You
that what
know?
they're doing? Like it's such a long podcast. You have so many people on at the same time, all exploring those same topics. It kind of ramps up, right? So like, it's like a getting to know you phase, followed by okay, now we have some information. Now we can actually start to explore this concept.
Yeah.
And so it's like,
If that's where
doesn't
we're
that seem
going,
like it's
hurrah.
that seems like it's the very format you're talking about?
Well,
I mean, it does.
Good. I'm glad it
that's
does
good.
too.
cool. You
Or
said,
are you on the, yeah, they're just there? Are you like, you remember the Freedom Tunes? Did you see the Freedom Tunes?
I don't believe so. Where?
Where they're like, "That's stupid, bitch." That one. That's it. That was the tune,
Doesn't
right?
sound like
that's
it'd
what
be
it,
up my
that's what it
alley.
was, right? It was like it was trying to make fun of whatever.
Oh, I thought it
um,
was funny. I don't.
Yeah, well, it was funny,
Yeah, it was
right?
funny, yeah.
But they weren't because they weren't really making fun of the show. They were just
Yeah.
making fun of the concept of the reaction that people have, the visceral reaction,
Yeah.
in understanding
Word.
these dynamics.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
And I think this is definitely, well, depending on the audience members, again, it's very vast. You have a lot of different audience members. I do believe they have similar stances in either the red pill or whatever this is. It could It's good. Everything's good. I'm
No,
good, so.
no. Come
no,
on.
no, no,
be,
no. I'm
be.
good. Okay.
Just go ahead. Say it.
Uh,
Don't. What's the term? Don't.
I think maybe
I don't-
if there were, a smaller panel, we could dive more intensely into these type of topics. I guess I would love to see for your audience a change of course, really, like something where we could talk about how we would like to see the change, how we do benefit one another.
You are so
Something
right.
like
Here's
that.
how we change.
Oh.
Women stop being promiscuous. Men also stop being promiscuous. Maybe.
What is the dance moves? Some
I don't know
dance
what she's
moves?
doing.
Just,
She's-
we're
she's
just busting
dancing.
out and dancing now.
Gotta move a little chair.
Maybe like stop chasing after men out of your league because that's what a lot of women do. What else?
No
And
more talking in saunas.
No more talking in saunas, exactly. Maybe don't like misrepresent your physical appearance on dating apps by using filters in Photoshop and caked on makeup because men do
you see how
care.
this is a little one-sided on what you're saying and very
Well, let me finish my point.
defensive.
Well, I mean, yes, I'm being perhaps a bit sarcastic in my tone, or maybe not even sarcastic, but
Just over here, turning into a skeleton, waiting for the pushback. Just kind of waiting for. You see how what you're saying is one-sided? Yeah, I mean, you could kind of push back. This is big opportunity, right?
Yeah, I'm letting him finish. I
well,
don't
yeah.
want to
So
interrupt
it
our
would be
host
nice.
Too often.
It would be nice, I mean, I'm not on dating apps anymore, but when I was,
Cable donated $200. Andrew, stop obfuscating. You don't know how to debate. You're obviously a fraud. Enjoy your vacation, and congrats on your baptism. Many years to you and your family.
Appreciate that. And appreciate the $200.
okay, thank you, Cable, for that. Look, I mean, when it comes to dating apps, for example, right? When I used to be on dating apps, I'd frequently see women, every single photo they have, full face of makeup, filters, Photoshop. I think that's being incredibly disingenuous. Physical attraction is very important to both men and women.
I
So-
wouldn't disagree. And again, it's both sides. We're seeing, different heights and